What's up, Cancer? Welcome to your creativity reading for the month of September 2020. Can't believe how far we are into this year, but at the same time, it feels like this year has been 3 years long, right? Welcome to my channel. My name is Kayleigh Jean. If you're new, you can use this reading for your sun, moon, or your rising sign. And just so you know, my readings tend to focus on creativity, spirituality, personal growth. Those are just the areas of life that my readings tend to focus on. So if that is something that intrigues you right now, I encourage you to go ahead and just keep on watching. All right, Cancer, while I was tuning in for you intuitively, I did get a message, and I feel like maybe this is for someone specific out there or maybe just a couple of people, but it came through very strong. So while I was in meditation, I kind of sensed just like a very regal feminine energy coming forward. And I don't know if this was just an interpretation of the way that her energy felt, but I could see almost like a crown on her head, like she was some kind of queen. But she just said, remember where you came from. So that's the message, Cancer. Hope that's helpful for you. No, just kidding. I think there is something with this message, though, that feels like you've got some kind of dignity that you're forgetting, Cancer. I think maybe it's your ancestors went through something really profound, or maybe your own upbringing, right? Your own upbringing was incredibly difficult in some way. But I feel like there's this, it's not pride in the sense of like hubris or anything like that, but it's like personal dignity, personal dignity that I feel is somehow reminding you of your ability to transcend challenges and your ability to explore hurdles in your life and obstacles, and not to be daunted by those, and not to even give a moment of thought to, you know, whether or not you can do something that you really want to do. Because I feel like you have to remember even just like the dignity of your soul or your spirit, like where you come from on a spiritual level, Cancer. I feel like there's a lot more competency and strength within you than you realize. So remember where you came from, whether it was incredible obstacles that you overcame, or if it was, people in your family overcame incredible hardships, and you are made from that stock, you're made from that strength that came before you. Whatever it is, it's like there's something about you needing to remember your power right now is really what is coming through. So let's go ahead and take a look at your cards, and we'll get some more information. Cancer. I also feel like, and I don't normally talk about light workers and stuff like that on my channel, not because I don't believe in them or anything like that, but it's just not something that tends to come up for me. But for some of you, I was also kind of hearing like, your, whatever you consider to be like your soul's work, it's like remembering the powerful strength of your guiding intentions in life and your light, Cancer. It's like respecting your light, respecting your inner strength, Cancer. Okay. And let's get your Surrender Oracle card. I'm gonna get a sip of water. So we've got the moth as your path and the horse that's crossing you. This is really, really beautiful. This is absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. So what I'm getting is with your path card is the moth. And then the obstacle, right? Like sometimes the obstacle or the influence card represents like a lesson that we're learning or an energy that we're experiencing or that we're being faced with. I think the thing that you're being faced with right now, Cancer, is like whatever you're setting your sights on in your life as far as your life trajectory. I feel like the moth card is kind of showing that path for you is very, very personal, and it might almost have a certain uniqueness or an eccentricity about it that almost makes you worry that it's going to be unrecognizable to other people. So for example, let me just use an example here. If you're a creator, because so many of you guys are very creative people, if you were going to start working in maybe film, right? And you have this concept for a type of movie or a type of video, and it's like maybe a style of editing and combined with certain, musical tracks that just gives a very different feeling from what you would normally see, or maybe the message that you're trying to convey in the videos that you're making just feels like it's totally out of left field and really, really bizarre. And you almost feel like people won't even really be able to place you, right? Like you almost feel like whatever you're putting out into the world doesn't really fit into a particular category or a particular box. A lot of authors run into this issue because readers tend to have a certain expectation, right? If you love reading, for example, romance or something like that, there's certain expectations that readers have in that genre. Well, if you write kind of close to that genre, or there's themes of that genre in there, but you have a totally different type of story that doesn't follow the normal program that those readers who love that genre expect, then, it makes sense that you'd be a little worried about putting your book out there, because maybe it's not really romance, maybe it's a mishmash of like 20 different things, and it doesn't follow the same narrative structure. That can be like that feeling of when you see like a really beautiful moth, right? There's moths that just look so freaking weird and that you would just never expect that kind of creature to exist. And often you just have no idea what to call it. Like, whereas with butterflies, most people can look at a butterfly and be like, oh yeah, that's a monarch, or like you kind of have like some sense of like familiarity with butterfly types because you've seen them before. But there's some really weird moths out there. So I think, but they're beautiful. They have like a certain bizarre beauty to them that's very different. And I think your task this month, and just in this general chapter of your life, this is kind of a meta message for you, Cancer. It could be true for the next 6 months even. But it's like you need to be the clear motivating factor behind the success of whatever you're accomplishing. And you have to be okay with being a standout. You have to be okay with going against the grain. You have to run with it, and I love this moon here because Cancer is ruled by the moon. So you have the intuition, you have the ancient wisdom ingrained within you in your subconscious mind and your creative mind. You have the ability to synthesize all of this information in a way that's going to be authentic for you, and it will be attractive to other people, but it will be attractive in a very unique way. So that's kind of the message, the overall message is you have to trust yourself to pursue whatever this is. So let's take a look at your tarot cards. We've got the Chariot with the Eight of Swords, the Page of Cups, Seven of Wands, Two of Swords, Ace of Swords, Ace of Cups, and the Wheel of Fortune. Interesting. So the first week of September, it's interesting because we actually have a full moon in Pisces in the first week, which is symbolically falling in your ninth house of travel and international things having to do with like adventures. Also higher learning and philosophy and even publishing can be related to that. So when you have a full moon there, you probably either have kind of a travel itch, like you really want to go places, you want to experience things, you'd like to just be more involved in life in general and have new experiences. But with the Chariot in reverse, which is, totally understandable because right now we still, in many places in the world, have travel restrictions and things like that. There can be an issue with that, right? Because there's something that you want, but it's not necessarily the best time to do that on a pragmatic level. And that could be applied, that same message could be applied to some other thing in your life that you want to do. It may not necessarily be travel, but I do think that there's something that you're kind of holding yourself back from a little bit, Cancer, when I look at these cards. Because the Eight of Swords represents where we kind of get hung up within ourselves and where we trap ourselves in like mental gymnastics, right? Where we're kind of thinking way complicated thoughts that are keeping us tied into maybe a pattern that feels negative or that feels confusing, or we're just locked into something mentally. Maybe it's a life perspective or a belief system or an attitude or even an ideology. We're sort of like locked into it through our own mental machinations. But when I look at these cards, I feel like the first week of September, I do get a sense of frustration because on the one hand, it feels like you're ready to go with the Chariot, but it's in reverse. And I also feel like with the Eight of Swords showing up in reverse, it's like that movement forward that you're seeking is possible, Cancer, but you have to change your mindset first to get there. So think about like what you really want to feel in your life. Like if there's a feeling that you'd really like to have more of, ask yourself, like, what thoughts would you have to think in order to feel that way more often? And you can really get a sense of that by looking at when you don't feel that way and recognizing what thoughts you're thinking when you really don't feel the way that you want to feel, right? And then just flipping those and consciously reorienting your thought process. That might mean changing your beliefs, which might mean admitting that you've been wrong in the past, Cancer. But admitting that you're wrong is amazing. I mean, it's liberating, especially when the fact that you might have been wrong about something is good. It feels good because you feel better knowing that you were wrong, because when you were thinking the thing that was wrong, it was causing you to feel low and depressed and down. So it can be a really positive mindset shift in the first week of the month, but it's going to probably be prompted by some mental frustrations a little bit. But I think if you stick with it, you'll get past it because you've got the Page of Cups and the Seven of Wands, which in this deck, the Seven of Wands looks more triumphant to me. So I always kind of let the decks that I use inform me a little bit intuitively, because obviously it's a different deck and it has a different feel. And so for this second week of September, I feel like there's something that feels like an emotional victory for you. It feels more like you are achieving the emotional states that you seek. And there's an element of strength, like emotional strength, emotional hardiness that's coming through here, where it's like, wow, you can kind of see that maybe you were exposed to something that used to trigger you to go into like a dark place, but you didn't let that happen in the second week of September. So then you feel stronger, and this happens to me too. I've had this happen in my own life where I've been like, where I would have kind of reacted to something and gotten into an argument with someone, and then I just stayed calm and kind of let that feeling roll over me. And just experienced a much more expansive conversation, a much more opening type of conversation as a result of that. And then afterwards, feeling that sense of growth, that sense of like, oh, I always would have, been gone into like, defensive mode or whatever, and I'm not doing that anymore. Like I can really see improvement in myself. And that is the juice of life. Honestly, like really seeing that you are improving on areas that you wanted to improve in is everything. In my opinion, it's like growth is what really makes us happy. Achieving something is not really where the happiness is. It's more about in seeing improvement. It's more about seeing movement towards something that really gives you the satisfaction. So that's a real accomplishment in the second week on an emotional level. And I think that it's also potentially going to be a very creative week for you. So you could get a lot done with your creativity in some way, or your productivity with a business or something along those lines as well. Now, the third week of September, we have the Ace of Swords with the Two of Swords in reverse. So this feels like decision time. The third week of September, you have some kind of a bright idea, a flash of inspiration, a moment of clarity, lightning strikes and everything is clear. All of a sudden, it's that kind of thing. And the Two of Swords in reverse to me shows that there's some kind of passivity that is being overcome through action on your part. So something that you've been maybe a little passive about, or something that you've kind of been sitting on. Like my guides also just gave me an image of like a hen sitting on her eggs. So something that you've been sitting on for a while, and again, not to say that that's bad, it was just maybe a natural process for you. You're sitting on something, you're having some realizations maybe, or you're working on something privately, or just working out how you really feel about something in your thoughts. I feel like then, that kind of comes out in the open and you're really grasping your power. So you could be more vocal in the third week of September, or you could just be like sharing something in a more communicative way. But it looks really good. So that's a very communication-oriented week of the month, and it's going to be about you doing it, like you initiating it. So you could be initiating an important conversation, sharing something on your social media, whatever. Maybe it's with a person in your life, or it could be with your fellowship if you have an online business. But either way, it's like it feels like a very successful time for you to communicate. Now, the third week of September, you've got the Wheel of Fortune and the Ace of Cups in reverse. So what I see here is the movement or the passage of time and how that can change our feelings about things. So one of the senses that I get with this is really that there is some kind of a blessing or something that is being completed, right? Because tens can represent both beginnings and endings, because they're sort of like the end of the first, block of numbers, but it's also the beginning of, the second digit numbers. So it's, or the two double digit numbers. So it's kind of like a blessing and a completion and a new beginning all in one, really, at the end of the month for you as the sun moves into Libra. And I think you're going to feel around that time that you're going to be recognizing almost like as the seasons change, right? We're just going to be going through the equinox. Wherever you are on the planet, it'll be an equinox. So there's almost this sense that like as the seasons change, you're going to be reflecting on your life and you're going to be realizing that you feel differently about something. And that's like the Ace of Cups in reverse. If some of you are in a kind of like not very romantic relationship, for example, you might be coming to the terms that, maybe you're just really good friends with your partner at this point, and maybe it's not really a romantic relationship anymore. And so the decision that you would be making in that situation is like, well, is this something that we can regain? Or are we going to just be friends and accept that? That's kind of the energy that I get. It's not a huge dramatic energy, Cancer. I don't get a lot of drama feel from this. I get this more as like quiet, contemplative realizations that you're having within yourself. And so it's really about asking yourself, like, okay, now that I've completed another, season of my life, where's my heart at right now? And what do I need to do better at in order to embrace like my truth? Like what actions can I take to serve the people that are the most important to me better in my life? Like, what can I do to be productive in a positive way, and even energetically as well? Like, there's something here about really understanding your priorities and your values more at the end of the month, and it's probably coming because you're realizing you're not as satisfied with something, or because you realize that something isn't as emotionally fulfilling as you thought it was, or as it used to be. Like you could, let's say, for example, if you were an influencer. I have a lot of people who watch my channel who are influencers, or who are, online business owners. You might have really been satisfied, and you might have got a lot of joy out of your work in the past, and out of, having your, I don't know, Instagram platform or whatever. But now you're kind of feeling like something has changed within you, like quietly over time. Maybe you want to just focus more on the people that are like physically in your life, as opposed to catering all the time to a very wide audience and always caring about how many people follow you, and caring about who's liking your post, or who's, blocking you, or whatever. Like, maybe you're kind of over that, but it's not like you're going to just like cancel everything and throw it all away. Like, it's not necessarily like that, but it's more like, oh, okay, like I've been through a certain chapter. I can feel that my priorities have naturally shifted somewhere along the line. And now I want to know if my actions and my behaviors are really lining up with where my heart is truly at and what really matters, right? So it's a quiet and thoughtful energy at the end of the month for you. Your Bob Ross message is, isn't that fantastic? I knew you could do it. I love that, because I think too, like, you've got this energy going on, and I think the horse energy is like very much that sense of self-empowerment and being able to do things, and recognizing that you can be the initiator of your own destiny. Let's take a look at your Sacred Destiny Oracle card, Stillness. I'm liking that. So make some space for stillness. Wow. And then your Surrender Oracle card is Surrender to Passion. Gorgeous. It says, get out of your head and feel the fire in your belly. Focus on people or activities that ignite your passion and let it flow. Gorgeous. So yes, stillness and passion, those are very intense energies. It kind of makes me feel like if you give yourself some time to quietly write, or quietly paint, or make your music, or whatever it is, just kind of with that attitude and that spirit of inner kind of humbleness and peace in your heart, and you engage yourself in that attitude on a daily basis, like even just for 30 minutes, like, okay, I'm going to just quietly, just sweetly do my hobby, or make something, or, work on this skill or whatever. I think you're going to find passion arises out of that space. So you're going to be very productive, I feel, Cancer. So that was your reading. I hope it was helpful. Please let me know in the comments what you thought. If you want to just leave me a little note to let me know that you're still with me, you can leave me a little purple emoji heart, or just write hearts if you don't have emojis. I'm sending you so much love. Please like and subscribe to this channel if you enjoyed this reading. And I will also put the link where you can donate. Even just $1 is fantastic and so, so helpful. Okay, guys, blessings to you. I hope you have an amazing month, and I will talk to you next time.